What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of At Home with Mark. This is the season freaking finale of season 9. And two of my pals, Jake and Dani from Eggy, are back on the show, but together. Let's do this.
Let's go.
Fellas, first
Season
of all,
9. Wow.
I know, man. It's crazy. 200 some odd episodes, man. It's nuts. But first and foremost, it's been so great. Like, you are two of my favorite people that I've met through this show. And I want to thank you so much for all the hospitality you've lent me with me coming in and shooting video when you were at the 8x10 and just being so kind to me. So thank you. I so appreciate your time just being here and doing this silly thing. So thanks, guys.
Thank you, man. It's been a real pleasure getting to connect with you. And you've really shined a light on what we do and been like a great resource for us. So thank you so much for giving us a place and a friend, you know?
Yeah, man. Hell yeah. So we three share a very unique love of Bruce Hornsby, which I guess is not super unique, but that dude is so self-deprecating that the last time I saw him play, which was at I think it was at Wolf Trap in Northern Virginia at that amphitheater, he was like, "Thanks for coming to see us. I know not a lot of people know who we are." And I was like, "What the hell are you talking about? We all know who you are." But I feel like Bruce is a little bit of a niche thing these days, unfortunately. Do you get that vibe?
I think that a lot of people generally have an appreciation for him. I think that people know either some of his earlier stuff or people know his time with the Dead. So I think people would be very outright to say that they have an appreciation for him. But I think often when we go into the deep about the catalog, even just a little splash, I think that there's gaps for people that I'm always very eager, as I know Dani is as well, to spread that Bruce love, because man, what an amazing influential person in our lives.
Totally. Where were you the first time you heard Hornsby, Dani?
First time I remember hearing Hornsby, I had rated the first time I ever got to really like ingest it deeply. I don't know if this is the first time I heard Hornsby, but chances are we had gotten it's probably Fare Thee Well when like really discovered Hornsby as far as like this is one of the guys.
And I remember even earlier, Dani. I remember because I remember I bought the Fare Thee Well shirt that I got.
Because it has Hornsby on it. That's right.
So I remember being in the Silver Sob. I remember I had seen
was it Branford Marsalis and Bob Weir with Hornsby?
Well, that's the first time I think we saw him, but I don't have I wasn't like a fan then. I just knew that he was a guy. But I remember I had seen the movie World's Greatest Dad.
Oh yeah.
Williams, and Bruce has like a really weird cameo in that. He's like kind of like an inside joke throughout the whole movie, and he plays Mandolin Rain. He does his minor version of Mandolin Rain. And I remember going to Merle's record rack and picking up that CD The Way It Is. And I remember like playing Mandolin Rain, and it was like the original version, but I had heard the version, so I already knew something was up, being like, man, like this is crazy. And I remember just like being with you and like blasting, like
you would listen to it as loud as possible. And yeah, I remember I was like, must have been around that time then. Like I went and I raided through my like dad's CD collection, and he had Scenes from the South Side. And so when you're in my car, that one was up all the way. And when we were in your car, it was that one. It's like,
right.
Yeah, I guess he's just always been with us. I don't have like.
It was an instant love for sure. I mean, I remember just, and it's actually cool because I feel like where we kind of first dove in is like at sort of the beginning of like his career. So we really took the chronological journey unintentionally. I feel like a lot of times you find kind of whatever's most recent, and then you're finding yourself digging back. But I feel like for whatever reason, we got to take the whole ride.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what's weird about that too is like I was the same way. I heard The Way It Is. That was my first like exposure, and so I bought that CD. I remember it was like around Christmas time, and we were at like a outlet mall place, and there was like a record store, and I had a little bit of cash from cutting lawns or whatever in the summer still left, and I bought that CD because I heard The Way It Is on the radio, and every song, even though at the time I was a younger kid, I probably was in middle school. It felt dated because I was listening to 10 and Nevermind and all this other stuff too, you know. But I think what's interesting about it is even with those dated 80s kind of sounds, I think as a internally like growing musician like that, I could see through that and hear the music and hear the songs that were there. And that is what kind of spawned my love of him. Kind of in a way, you know, it's weird because like even to be that young and to be able to look past that stuff, the same thing with you guys, because you know some of those sounds on that first record are very dated.
Well, a good song is a good song, you know?
Right.
And I think that's something that we even try to remind ourselves when we get caught up in the songwriting process is just at the end of the day, like a good song can kind of hold up with whatever. And I know Bruce even talks back about some of those sounds of using the drum machines and stuff like that. Probably wouldn't do that now, but I think it's just a testament to the quality of songwriting, which is really cool because he's an incredible musician as well. But I feel like the deeper you get into the catalog, you realize kind of what is the case with all the artists that we love is that just the songs are what, you know, really holds up.
Hell yeah. Donnie, did you like really dig in deep when you started listening to his stuff to kind of, because like all the spread voicing things he does, like talking about like Resting Place, for instance, is like one of my favorite tunes. Like, did you really kind of get in the weeds with that stuff and start working on like the different voicings and inversions and things that he does?
Yeah, I've definitely had my share of like transcribing some of his stuff and getting inside of it. I'm still in the weeds with it, and I feel like I'll spend my whole life in the weeds because it's just such a well of like I actually today, in the spirit of this podcast, I was like looking up like Bruce interviews, and I found this performance of him, and he was doing The Way It Is, and in 40 seconds of a solo, like he just shows you so much of his like versatility. And I feel like that's really like one of the main reasons why he's just been such like a bastion for me and for Jake, is like that flexibility to go into so many different worlds. Like, you know, he's got the gospel roots of doing something like, I think it's Sea Song. Is that the one? I like off of Spirit Trail.
Right.
So like I transcribed that, and that's got a lot of those like, I guess the drop two voicings, and doing a lot of that like church kind of sound that I didn't really like, grow up with, but I'm incredibly fond of. Something like Harbor Lights, like as he starts getting into like all these huge fourths and chordal voicings, and like right now I'm transcribing some of Madman Across the Water.
Oh, cool.
From the Intersections live record, I think. And just really trying to live inside that again. I mean, see, every time I hear Bruce, it's always like, I should learn more Bruce. And so I feel like I'm very just on the surface still, because the well is deep as hell.
I was going to say, it's a deep well that you spend your whole life drinking from.
Yeah.
It's that whole you know, Spiderfingers quote of like, you know, pulling out the Hannon book, practice and repetition kind of thing. Is like him, it's like in that song him preaching of like, I didn't get here by luck, you know. It's like it's work, you know. So it's funny to hear him talk about things like that, even in the context of within one of his songs that is like virtuosic, you know what I mean? It's crazy, dude. Well, let's talk a little bit about the discography. And we all kind of wanted to, well, my suggestion was that we come with like our own, like, what's our greatest hits for Bruce. And I think it's very easy to span the whole catalog because there's great music from start to now. So who wants to go first? We can do this kind of like piecemeal, or we can kind of talk about it like in terms of, you can talk about the songs, the first like couple songs that you chose, which records they're on, and why you love them.
Okay.
Don, you want to go first? You're the keys. You're the chairman
Sure.
of the boards here.
So I know you mentioned we don't have to go chronologically, but it was easier for me to think about it chronologically a little bit, or at least just by era, you know, because otherwise it would have just been like a laundry list, and there had to be some decisions made. So maybe we go by era.
Let's do it.
Let's hang out in the eras for a little bit.
Yeah, let's have a little eras tour of Bruce.
Yeah, man.
So I broke it up arbitrarily into like the range years. There's like the 90s, like I'm Bruce Hornsby years. Then like the Noisemakers, like when he was releasing records as the Noisemakers, and then like the modern Bruce of like the last 3-4 records.
Sounds good to me. Hit me.
Should we take it back to the range?
Let's do it.
So I'm gonna go with when I was digging through, for me, and maybe it's just like a nostalgia element as well, but the first 2 songs off of Scenes from the South Side, which is Look Out Any Window and Valley Road.
Oh yeah.
Just that sequence for me landed on my greatest. It's got all of the, like, as a piano player, it excites me incredibly. Like Look Out Any Window has that beautiful outro, beautiful solo on Valley Road. And it's just like, these songs are just like, they put pep in your step. Bruce's voice is like crispy, and like, I like really appreciate there's in a lot of ways like a lot of similarity between a lot of the songs in that time frame, even just like the drum beat in a lot of ways, like they all kind of have that same like accent in it, but it's like, that's what makes them pop. That's what makes them really like I don't know. And I think that like for me, those 2 songs, especially back to back, it takes me back to being however old I was 10 plus years ago, you know, listening to Bruce at full volume in the car. And some other ones from that era that I discovered later would be like Stander on the Mountain.
Oh yeah.
Especially from like the what is it? Here Come the Noisemakers record.
Oh yeah, man. Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's sort of like is where like it really starts to foray into like non-pop sounds.
Yeah, like Carry the Waters on that.
Carry the Water. There was like this, remember that video from way back? It was, of course,
Yeah.
the Line in the Dust it was like Carry the Water into Line in the Dust or something. It's like,
yeah. And I forgot that like Defenders of the Flag and Jacob's Ladder were also on Scenes from the South Side.
Yeah.
Right. So let me ask you guys this, because there's been so many versions of Valley Road too that he's done where he's rearranged the tune. Like what version is your favorite version?
First one that jumps to mind, there's like it's like a version that's I think in like 6/8. I'd have to pull it up. I think it comes out of like, I like that one. I like the bluegrass kind of one.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Jake?
I don't know if I could think of a specific version that you know is my guy.
That version on Here Come the Noisemakers, that live record, is so good.
For sure.
That one I think holds a special place in my heart, because I was in college, and I remember like when we had parties, it was like that was the music that was on in our house. It was like Soul Live and Bruce Hornsby and shit like that, you know. So
good party.
That's one that came to mind for me, because it's like, it definitely sounds like it came out of a wharf rat or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I remember listening to that with Alex and just being like, man, that groove is so fierce. Like, because that's
Oh.
Sonny Amory in that one, or that's another drummer in that one.
That's Sonny era, isn't it? I think that's Sonny.
I
You
know,
can
like,
kind of tell from his right hand,
mm,
like the way he hits a ride. That's my biggest when I hear him. I don't know why, but
because there's like some drummer that does. I don't know his name, but he did Woodstock '99.
oh right,
And it's not Sonny, but I think the stander from that record is from Woodstock. So it's like maybe it's a mix on that record between the two of them.
Yeah, Michael Baker.
Michael Baker.
oh okay. I don't know him particularly.
Oh,
He always has
that
great
one. Additional musicians. This is Here Comes the Noisemakers. Land Richards was on the Valley Road in that. I don't
Okay.
know.
Yeah,
Figured look it up, so we're spreading the right info here.
Right.
for sure.
Yeah, but Sonny, I mean, I think that's what's so cool about the Noisemakers, at least like that era with like Derry Barry.
Oh god, I love him, dude.
I just the improvisation, I think, is something that I think that we've like, of all the bands that we've listened to, like the way that that band communicates with each other and just really is so thematic. And I think what's so cool about Bruce, I mean, haven't had the opportunity to talk with him, but I really feel like he embodies the like trying to really go into that uncharted territory and like really have to work as a group to figure out where it ends up. And I feel like he just like really pushes the musicians. I mean, I've spoken with JV before, and he was like, man, it's been such a joy getting to be in this band, and it's just like it's a blessing because Bruce, like to this day, really, really tries to push the music. And I think that that's what's so inspiring is that, you know, anytime you feel like you're in the box, you're always trying to get out of it. And I think that a lot of people kind of find their sound, and even through the improv, like, you know, they're taking risk, but within like a safe sort of thing. Like they're jamming within a place of comfort a little bit. And I always feel like Bruce is willing to risk it, which I think
100%.
is what's the goal, you know?
Yeah. I was so bummed when Derry Barry was gone from that band. He's been on the show like post when he left or when however that happened. But it sounds like it was all fine. It wasn't a, bad split or anything like that. But like that dude is I mean, every single person in his band, whoever he has playing with him, is just next level musicianship kind of thing. It's like
he's had the best. I mean, I was going through some of the lists. I know we're going on the tangent as expected, but it's like, I mean, on some of the records, like he's got everyone from Sting to Elton John to Eric Clapton and Pat Metheny and like
Jerry,
like the best musicians of all time.
Yeah.
People that will go down in history as like the greatest musicians to have ever done it. You know, so it's, and then, you know, more recent Bruce, who's collaborating with like James Mercer from the Shins and Blake Mills and Ethan Gruska, and just it's people know what's up, you know, when people hear what he does, it's like it's undeniable. You know, I feel like anyone would work with him.
Oh, hell yeah. All right, Jake, give me your first two. Give me your first two picks for
so in that same world, you know, the first love was Mandolin Rain. Still holds up to how could it not? But Down the Road Tonight, Donnie.
Oh yeah.
We had time with that one. And kind of, you know, I think we fell in love with the song and then started pulling back the layers of what the song was about. And that was fun for two kids in college to be like, yeah.
What's great about him too is like, he's like this healthy Appalachian avocado rap. Like it's like all his roots from that Virginia, like Appalachian mountain kind of thing that just it just pops out of his songs. Like you can hear it in the music and you can hear it in his words too, because he's like an author. I almost don't think of him as a lyricist. I think of him as like a storytelling author. It's like reading To Kill a Mockingbird and being like, oh wow, okay, this is a masterpiece of information. Like he's taking all those Southern root, things and mashing it all together with his experience. And it's not writing love songs, it's writing stories about people.
Right. And I think he has got like a really healthy mix from like, being an intellectual and writing from that place. And then, then there's like, what the hell happened to me, and just like stuff that has like a lot of humor in it. That I think it's so cool. I mean, he seems to be somebody who is incredibly strong in his convictions, but also knows how to have a laugh, which is like what I aspire to be.
Right. Like the same guy that's, can write a song like The Way It Is, which is like really like a huge commentary on, like injustice that he would have been growing up seeing. Like same with like Talk of the Town. It's like, it's a lot of songs that are like really rooted in some of the, more negative side of what he would have seen in his upbringing. It's like to be able to bring those things to light in a way that you like really want to hear too, I think is a challenge, to make statements that aren't like, it's with The Way It Is, it's on the nose, but it somehow goes down smooth. Like, I think a lot of people don't really know what that song is about, honestly, too, because
I'm sure they don't. Yeah,
that's the way it is, and it's like really fun and rejoiceful, but it really isn't supposed to be.
Not at all. But what's interesting about that too is like I think Bruce, maybe I'm realizing this now, but like I feel like he exposed me more as a young white suburban kid to Black culture, like in terms of looking into jazz, music, and reading about Miles, and reading about like all these Black musicians playing the Chitlin circuit that were struggling with racism, and like all this stuff that was happening that is like, I live in my like white privilege and don't think about it as a kid kind of thing. But the more I kind of look back on those moments of my life, those were like turning points of opening my eyes about stuff and being a little bit more sympathetic and empathetic, and like understanding the struggle is real. This is like, not something to hide from. It's something to stand up for, which is what Bruce does. But it's interesting to look back at that. When I was like going through this stuff, thinking about the songs and what they meant to me, like some of the stuff was coming up for me and it didn't before. So it's kind of a joyful way for me to kind of like look inward of like how this music has affected me. And I think, for me, like Mandolin Rain is a huge song for me, from a specific moment in my life of a bad breakup, and that song getting me through it. And that song, like the version on Here Come the Noisemakers, when they go into Black Muddy River, that is holy shit. Like the first time I heard that was when I was like, I'm all right. I'm going to be all right. Like, this is fine. Thanks, Bruce. And so for me, like that song will stick with me forever. Every time I hear that intro, and he's like, oh, we love it here. What is this place called? The Belk Theater.
Yeah.
We will remember it. And then he just starts to go, oh God, it's just so good, dude. But sorry, my headphone came out. But yeah, so that song is high up on my list. But Wild Frontier on that first record, that's a real good one too, man. Like there is just some, I'd like to see him go back and re-record some of these songs in the way that he would want to do it now, just to get a flavor of more kind of like, I don't know, contemporary production.
Yeah, I don't know the guy, but I feel like something I admire so much about him is like he seems to not be like a go back kind of guy. He's just like we said earlier, like he's got a thread kind of that lives within a lot of his music, it's always him, but like he seems to have like one of the most linear careers that I can think of, where it feels like it's always moving forward.
Mhm.
And
Like Charlie Hunter in a way. Charlie Hunter's the same way.
totally,
You know?
yeah,
So
it's so cool to be, it's something to aspire towards. I think that that's what you hope for when you're deciding to play music, is like that it could be something that's a part of your life forever, and that you can always be creative. Like it's not like playing basketball when you turn 45, you're like, my knees are shot, like I'll never be as good as I was. I feel like Bruce is still telling the story and still writing some of the best songs I've ever heard.
totally, dude.
Yeah.
All right, Donnie, hit me with your next two.
My next two. All right. Well, my next two would jump from this era.
That's fine.
into a new era. A fat era. The 90s.
PH fat.
Oh. If it's the 90s, then yeah.
Have
All right. I'm gonna hit you with one. Harbor Lights. That's you guys in the reflection, by the way. But Harbor Lights, I don't know where the CD went, but
It's probably in a booklet in a car in the 90s, dude. Come
on. And gonna go with Harbor Lights. It's worth 2 songs, actually.
Okay.
Has the value of 2.
Okay. I can dig it. So what do you love about that record? Because I feel like when you mentioned that record earlier, you had a big shit-eating grin on your face too. So like,
yeah.
What is it about it?
This song, this album, when I think about listening to it, I think about when I was still living at my parents' house. And this was one of the ones that like was like a big like music discovery phase for me. And this record, especially in like didn't know you could kind of make some music like this. And I think that like, the intro to Harbor Lights, the song, was definitely, I was very big on the transcription list. Like it just is special. And I think that like it takes me down to the docks at night. I don't know. I don't really know how to describe how it makes me feel. I feel like part of how I feel is that like I've connected with Jake and Mike over this song and like listened to it and like have felt like the progression of that song, where it starts out so tender and it ends so fierce and viciously, that you get taken for this ride. And like, so it's like you hear those opening notes and you're already in your mind, like at the peak of the experience.
That's one of the greatest, if not my favorite, guitar solo in recorded music.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Harbor Lights, that Pat Metheny, both of those solos in that song are like some of my favorite playing I've ever heard. I mean, it's incredible. It's a solo that I go back every few years to be like, oh, I got to relearn that. Yeah, I remember with Harbor Lights, the song especially, I remember I was working like a shitty day job, and I remember like driving myself, like it was like a situation where there was like a company van that everyone would pile in, but for whatever reason that day I was like, I'm gonna drive myself. And I remember like blasting that song and like just like grooving out on the highway. And then I remember like looking out the side of my window and like seeing people that I worked with, and they just like saw me like feeling it super hard in the car. And I was just like, well, I just showed my whole ass there. No, if only you knew what I was listening to, because
Right.
But I mean that, dude. I mean that record. It's got Talk of the Town, Rainbow's Cadillac.
Yep.
What a time!
And
What a time,
dude.
Passing Through, Tide Will Rise, and Pastures of Plenty.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's incredible. I mean, I knew it was so good because, I mean, it's obviously so good, but I remember like the fact that Jerry was on some of those songs was just like so secondary to how much I loved those songs. It was just like it was the icing on the cake. It was like, oh, and that's a Jerry Garcia solo. But I just remember, you know, same sort of thing. Like, just I think a lot of what makes Bruce special is also like, there's a lot of music that I feel like we've kind of come together. Like, oh, I was listening to this, or Mike was listening to that, or Donnie was listening, whatever it is. But I feel like Bruce, like we really kind of discovered it together, and it was like it's almost like a book club where just like after, you know, every so often one of us would pick up another CD and be like, because we really lived like every single Bruce moment that I can think of, like, you know, like we really lived in that world before we moved on, and it was always somebody else being like, all right, I'm gonna find the next batch of Bruce songs to follow.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time that my car's 6 CD changer was like Spirit Trail Disc 1, Spirit Trail Disc 2, Bride of the Noisemakers 1, Bride of the Noisemakers 2, Harbor Lights, and Hot House. It was just like you pick your poison.
Yeah. That's so great, dude. I when I was looking at this and I was making my list of songs, I was like, I would just put Hot House, the whole record, in the middle of this because there's so many bangers on that record, like Tango King.
Tango King, dude.
Oh man. And dude, Country Doctor, talk about a Metheny solo, like that solo in that song. Oh, dude, there's so many great changes in that song. Like, it's like stuff that makes your head turn, like, oh, I wasn't expecting that chord change or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
It's shit like that keeps me coming back to him because he always does that. Like, even with like What the Hell Happened to Me, like, that's a weird ass tune. Like, that is not a normal harmonic progression, but yet it works so well and it's still catchy. What? Like, how does that work?
But I know, like, or like Michael Raphael, like, it's just it's so great and so like whimsical and yeah, and Levitate, I mean, Cyclone and Invisible, I remember that song got me like really
me too. I love that song.
That song, like it really like struck a chord with me, and I remember that was Donnie's like test mix song.
I was gonna say, back when I worked at Guitar Center, people would be like, how's the bass on these speakers? I'd be like, check this out. And they'd be like, you got anything else? I'd be like, no.
Dude, that record, he came when I was a student at Berkeley. He came and played the Performance Center, and the Wood Brothers opened up for him.
Oh, wow.
And that was the first night I ever heard the Wood Brothers, and I lost my mind. But like, that was right when that record came out, and he played a bunch of shit off of that record, and he played Invisible. And I remember being like, wow, like this song's special. Like it, you know?
Yeah.
That record too, again, you know, coming off the heels of Halcyon Days, which also I think is a very underrated record. I think sounds just as great, and a bunch of great songs on that. I mean, like the Black Rats of London, that's a weird tune, but it's so cool. Like that drum groove is super rad.
Yeah, Circus on the Moon, Dreamland,
Halcyon, yeah. Lost in the Snow. Are you guys fans of that one? Most people I talk to about that, they're like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, it's like the last track on that record. It's so good.
I'm not like as familiar with that one.
Listen to it, man. Like that intro, like that. I think that is Sonny on that record. That is him, I think. But like that intro snare crack that he brings that song in, there's something about it that just like propels you.
Same thing with the snare crack in Harbor Lights, like that first one.
Oh my god.
I can't even tell you how many times, like with Alex, I'm like, you got to get that Harbor Lights snare crack, you know? And like the bell and stuff. It's so.
Remember when we learned how to play it as a band? We just never performed it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the weird thing. I mean, I feel like we love the music so much, and like he's like sets the bar so high um that it's intimidating, you know.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
because the way that he can like embellish with his songs, like just either just like all of a sudden, like, you know, bringing out lyrics to another song, or um just, I mean, he is one of the few artists that like I want to sing with, like along with him so badly, because I love the songs and I know the lyrics, but like every time I listen to a new version, like I have to like stop singing, because he's always throwing out these like runs that it's just, he's so streamlined and he's got the songs down so much that he can just, he's not just playing with the piano, like he's playing with the vocals, the melodies, and the piano at the same, like there's just so much, it's so deep that I'm always just like whether I start singing or even sometimes in the van, like, and we're listening to a new version of something, it's kind of like shh, 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 like we don't want to miss this. Like so many times with Bruce, like hitting rewind and be like, do you hear this? Like I remember the first time hearing his version of Standing on the Moon, and just like there's like this little, just it's all, some of it's very, very subtle, like, and you just have to like zoom in on some of these like small things that you can miss if you are just like riding the high too much. But yeah, I mean, it's I definitely want to play some Bruce, but I feel like it's a lifelong endeavor. It's something that I have a feeling, you know, something will kick us in gear to do. Yeah.
The only one we've ever covered, well, we used to play The Way It Is way back when, but we do Madman Across the Water, but that's an Elton song. So it's
Right.
We've done Funhouse with our good friend Brad Goodall.
Oh yeah. Do you know Brad Goodall?
I don't.
So you would love Brad. He's an incredible songwriter, incredible guy, like somebody that is very near and dear to our hearts. And
here, I'm gonna write his. How do you spell his last name?
Goodall.
Okay.
Yeah. I wish I had a last name like that, man.
Right.
But the funny thing about Brad is, so, you know, Spotify catches a lot of flack for a number of valid reasons, but something they do very well is, you know, serve you up things that you want to hear that maybe you've never heard before. And I remember being in the car, I think with Alex, and I had discovered a song a little bit earlier called Casa de Mel, which is Brad Goodall's song. And I remember listening to it, and like I hadn't like read who had, you know, I didn't know what song was playing, and I was like, is this like a Bruce song that I've never heard before? And I could just tell, I was like, this guy loves Bruce Hornsby.
Oh, okay.
And I immediately was like, who is this person? Because I think he was the first person that I've ever heard like Bruce in their music. And I found him on Facebook, and I even did the test with Alex. I had played the song in the car for him. I was like, do you know who this is? He goes, is this Bruce? Like, I was like, no, this is Brad Goodall. I found Brad on Facebook, and I was like, I know this is like a really weird question, but like, just heard one of your songs. Like, do you love Bruce Hornsby? He was like, to say I love Bruce Hornsby would be a complete injustice to like how much I love that guy.
Okay.
And so fast friends, and he would fit really well in this conversation. He's one of the only people outside the band and you that I know has gone the distance with it all.
Oh man. Okay, I'll have to look him up and get him on here. I can be like, hey, this is what we did.
And talk about a piano player that's transcribed some Bruce.
Okay.
He knows his shit. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, dude, it's because that stuff is not easy. Because we do Resting Place, and you guys know I play keys too, but like guitar is my main thing. But like learning that was a huge undertaking for me just because I don't have gigantic hands. Bruce has huge ass hands. Have you ever seen his wingspan on his
Very tall guy.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, like he's got some big old hands. So it's like his reach, like
Big
I
good
can't get a ninth. Like I can't reach that much. Like my hands are that small. Like it's hard for me to get that. I can do the octave just fine, but to get to that 9 is not super easy.
Forget about it.
Dude, nah, he's got some gigantic hands, which enables him to do all these awesome voicings that he does. But let me ask you guys, so you know how Big Swing Face got shit on super duper hard by critics and everything? That's one of my favorite records. What is your take on Big Swing Face?
Let me pull up Big Swing Face.
I love the chill, dude.
I was gonna say the chill.
Yeah, man.
And I think that's Kimmock that takes the solo on the chill.
I think you're right.
It's fucking great. I mean, the dude could do no wrong.
Yeah.
I think it's a great record.
And that song No Home Training, boom, boom, like that groove is so friggin' deep in the pocket. It's smothered in lint. It is so good. And that
I like
what's
that.
the Place Under the Sun, that thing that's in 7. Dude, so hip. And
this record needs another spin in my world, because this one is a less familiar one. I know some of the tunes off it because he does them on Bride of the Noisemakers, like Cartoons and Candy, This Too Shall Pass, The Good Life. I love those songs. So
yeah,
I gotta come back to this one.
Yeah, Bride of the Noisemakers, I feel like it needs its own 3-hour segment of just man, that what is it, a double disc? It's really I mean, it's cool to go back and like listen to the studio stuff, because like you kind of realize like how much of like a greatest hits Bride of the Noisemakers is. But like everybody in the band can sing every single part of that, like every single solo note for note. Like we have obsessed. If there's a late night drive, we need that extra bit of energy. Like it's just that live record has like had probably the biggest impact in music in my entire life. And
wow.
Yeah, like Resting Place, like, I feel like that. I remember like I don't even really, a similar story to you in Mandolin Rain. Like it wasn't a breakup, but I remember it was like a difficult time in my life. I think I was like really conflicted about, we were starting to transition from like we're college kids to like wanting to pursue music full time, and some of the stress that came with that. And I remember just listening to Resting Place and just being like, wow, it's gonna, same sort of thing. It's gonna be all right. Like it's gonna be okay. And I mean, all the stuff on Bride of the Noisemakers, but even Dreamland, like I feel like I have to acknowledge that as we lost Edward Eggy Torrance, and that song Dreamland, like it's how I processed like that whole time in my life, and to this day, I don't think Dani was like thinking about it when he had put it on the last time we were in the van, but he put it on and like just instant tears. Just it takes me there every time. Like I remember that time in my life, and it has never. I've never had dry eyes listening to that song. Like the most tender solo. One sec.
You're all good. Yeah, man. That track is, I think my buddy did his like dance with his mom at his wedding, like the mother son dance for that song. And I can remember standing around being like, this is perfect.
It's perfect, dude.
Yeah.
And just, but it has given us immense joy. Some of the most fun times of our lives. Like we're all listening in the and we got so used to Bride of the Noisemakers that like when we had started going even deeper and like looking up versions of, you know, stuff on YouTube or whatever. And I remember being in the basement at the band house, like, and like we were raging like 3 a.m. like listening to live Bruce. And I'm just like, I wonder like how many, you know, at that point in time, maybe I was 27, 28. I was like, I wonder how many, you know, late 20s men are like fucking grooving out. And then, you know.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I think like, so I find this interesting. So somebody just put this in the chat. And we just actually talked about this, Michael. They were talking about wanting to do it, but it is an undertaking and you want to do it right because you want to pay it the respect it deserves, right? With the band. And I have no doubt in my mind that you guys would do a great job with it. So
Well,
I fully expect the next time you are anywhere near Baltimore that you're going to play a Hornsby cover because I'm here. But I think for you, Donnie, like I hear in your playing when I listen to you. And by the way, I wanted to say this before I forget this. When you guys came to Baltimore, I really love how the new songs are translating live. Like,
thank you.
I think you guys are doing a hell of a job, you know, taking those sounds from, and I know we talked about this, Donnie, when you were on before the record even came out about like translating the sounds and the escapes that you guys created live. And I think you guys are killing it doing that. It feels very organic. Doesn't feel like you're trying to do anything like the record. It feels just right because it's the song speaking. So I wanted to remember to say that to you guys because that was great. And the jams that you guys are putting in those are also feeling really, really nice too. But with like being a pianist, like I feel like I hear some of that in you, Donnie. Like before I even knew it, I feel like I could hear some of those influences coming out in you. And like, I'm wondering, just like for Jake and I, if there's a guitarist that we're like oogling, like we're just like super into somebody and we want to like dig into what's going on. Like, how much of this stuff is kind of like in the regular rotation of you working on the mechanics? Because it's very like talking about what this guy was asking about Eggy playing more stuff. The mechanics of playing his music are very tough. Can you talk a little bit about your experience with it and what you have struggled with and what you've kind of overcome?
Sure. I could tell you right now, as I'm trying to learn like Madman Across the Water in the way that he's doing it, there's a couple of things that have been challenging. Like one is just like some of the harmony. Like there's a lot of, especially in that song, he's using like a lot of like the chordal style voicing. And something that I tend to struggle with is like, you know, comping with my left hand, and he takes a couple really awesome solos in it. And I think when I think to learn a solo, my instinct is like to learn like the melody. And the thing that I really want to dive into deeper is like, what is he doing in that left hand that you have to listen deeper for because it's accompanying it. So it's quieter than the melody, and to really like listen for those subtleties, and really starting to hear how it's enhancing his right hand and allowing those like textures to come out. And then I'm always surprised. I'm like, oh, it always sounds like really like complicated, and then I'm like, oh, he's just playing like G and C in his left hand. It's not really it didn't end up being something that overly complicated. You know, just like now that we're home for the next like month or so, like this is really like this opportunity for me and for the band. We're all like really excited to be like really diving in deep to music, because you know, when we're on tour, it's like you only have time for the music that you're about to go perform, really. And so to be able to dig into someone else's work and just let things soak in, like you know, realization I had today was even just like, wow, like the way he's, you know, his dynamics on playing a simple melody, you know, really make that speak so much. And so I think that there's so many avenues to go in his world. I mean, his two-hand independence is like unmatched. I mean, that's one of the things that as like another reason to love him is like, there's the part of me that loves him as a songwriter, and then there's the part of me that loves him as the musician. And like the marriage of the two is, I feel like, really rare, to find someone who's able to be both an absolute virtuoso at his instrument, but also has just like such a depth of songwriting, and to be able to work those two in tandem. It's not just like, hey, I'm a really great session musician, but I also wrote these songs. It's like the songs are written with that sort of ability in mind. He uses the music to push the songwriting, and he uses songwriting to, you know, venture into new worlds, especially as he's like embellishing these things live. So I think, you know, for me, like trying to get in deep into the two-hand independence, you know, being able to play stuff in my right hand over that boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, that dotted eighth weird thing.
Yeah, or like he does a lot of those like in resting places, you know, and like, and so every time I go back to learn something from Bruce, there's always something to be found. I mean, I think that it's like it's a great joy to get to learn his stuff, but it's also really an enjoyable challenge because he's got this way about him. And as a piano player, it's like he kind of like, you know, he's all of the guys that I should listen to that created him, of like the Bill Evans, the McCoy Tyners. And it's like, or I could just listen to Bruce and like glean all the stuff that I love from all those guys.
Yeah, man.
I feel like he's got like, you know, I know he's big into basketball and his son plays basketball, and I definitely feel like he's got like a competitive spirit in the way that he plays, whether it's just against himself, you know, I don't know, but I feel like there's just like, there's something about like the intensity in which he can play that I feel like he's there to like really dominate. And I think that he has something so special and so unique that like he probably doesn't even need to feel that way. I don't know if he does feel that way, but it just comes across as yeah, there's just like an intensity in the way that he plays.
Like, yeah. Probably like some of like the jazz background, like, and like, you know, you're up there to cut, you're up there to like prove yourself when you take the bandstand, if you will, like, you know, yeah. He's got that, like, you know, he's a cat, and like, yeah, like there is that like level of intensity of like, you know, show me what you got.
I love that scene from that DVD, 3 Nights on the Town, when they're like, JT's backstage, like doing an interview, and they're talking about having to watch Bruce like a hawk on stage because his musical cues are like, he like just looks up just like 1 second, or his eyebrow goes up or something like that, and they're supposed to know like turn on a dime kind of thing. It's like he's like arranging music on the spot, but if you don't watch him, and Doug even said that, like, it's like you have to like totally be looking at him the whole time.
Well, I wanted to actually shine a light on those guys in that I feel like living in that world. I mean, like you watch like a band like Fish improvise, they're like hardly ever looking at each other, right? They're kind of just like all in their own zone, and I feel like when you're in that sort of headspace, and there's not like, not that there's not a leader, but the cues aren't physical. Like a lot of stuff is kind of in the flow state and slowly moving, like real patient playing. I feel like it's kind of easier to kind of reach your flow. And I think that's something that we've always really admired about Bruce and the people that he plays with, even this version of the Noisemakers for sure, is like their ability, like his band's ability to be paying attention to him and keep their eyes on him, like without sacrificing like their own flow. Like they all have so much to say and speak through their instruments, also with a lot of conviction. And I think that that's also really, really rare of a band that like is able to be uh like instinctive and reactive, like and like ready for anything that that gets thrown at them, you know, without, you know, they could be paying attention to Bruce so intensely, but like, but they're not like wait, you never feel like the waiting. They're like always right there. And I think that that's something that is so cool, is that it doesn't disrupt like their own musicianship and their own ability to kind of speak their own language. And I think that's what makes that band so special is I think that that's a really hard place to play from, is to like you said, like have to be like eyes on the whole time while still like telling your truth. And I think that that's what's so something that we try to do, you know. And it's always a conversation of like hey, pay attention, but don't let, you know, but don't let that like interrupt like your voice. And I also be remiss if we didn't go into a little bit of like the newer era of Bruce with like,
Oh yeah, hit me with your guys' newer Bruce catalog stuff, and then we'll get out of here.
Totally. We could, you know, we'll do it another time.
Yeah.
We'll bring Brad in. But My Resolve, I mean, that was like a really cool. We got really into the Shins, and particularly Poor Tomorrow was like a really, really big record for us. That's also in that kind of, I think Eggy has like our own desert island sort of.
Yeah.
And so hearing that collaboration with James Mercer was just like, it felt, I know it wasn't, but cosmically it felt like that was like for us.
Yeah.
You know? like a little gift of just like this kind of unexpected collaboration, but then hearing it was like, this is such a perfect mix. Bright Star Cast, the next song off that album. And then Flickted, I think, is it Days Ahead, Light Art, Is This It? Is that the sequence there?
Yeah, that's in a row.
That's like one of the best 3-song sequences like I've ever heard. And then I remember when we saw this, it's off a different record. Is it blanking on the title of the record, but I remember when we saw one of the solo piano shows, Soon Enough, really, and Never in This House.
I love Never in This House.
Just tore us to pieces. So I mean, I think that that's what's so inspiring about Bruce, is that he's not stuck in the hits of like he could have stopped a long time ago and would have had like the best catalog that I could think of. But I think just something we talk about in the band a lot is like, I think that you can be inspired by how infinite music can be, or it can sometimes feel like a burden that like it's never complete, you know. It's and the more that you've done, sometimes the harder it is to try to find like something new.
Dude,
and I think
100%. Did you hear that interview with John Mayer and Billy Joel?
Yeah.
When he was talking about that, he was talking about, you know, now I'm 47, and like, did you ever have this problem where you're writing but you feel like, I've done this, like,
totally.
What's going on? Is my well running dry? Like, go ahead. So, but that's
right. No, totally. And I think that some people, which John Mayer doesn't strike me as one of these people, but I think some people say, okay, maybe it has, you know. And I think that it takes a lot of belief and discipline and joy and love for what you do, to be, I think, to have that sort of bravery when you've had such like a big body of work and have had success, to be able to say, I've got more in the tank. And, I don't know how easily it comes to Bruce. I think I remember somewhere him saying that, a normal day for him is like going to the studio and just, continuing to poke at it. But, yeah, I mean, I think it's so inspiring that it's something that I could only hope for in my life, is that, blanking on how old he is.
He's
I know
I'm
he
sure
just
he's in his
celebrated.
70s.
I know
right?
he just celebrated a birthday, my Sagittarius brother. But
If Eddie Vedder is almost 60, Bruce has got to be close to 70, if not. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
early 70s.
He just turned 70.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
So, I think it's so inspiring that, as a fan, like, and that there's still music coming out and the best feels like it's yet to come. He's always doing something different and bringing in cool collaborations, as he seemingly has done his whole career. And yeah, it's total. He embodies, I think, the dream of music is to keep it going and to remain creative. And if you go to those shows just to hear 3 songs from the 80s, he'll let you know that
You're missing out, baby.
You're in the wrong place.
you're not really. You better wait, because we're not going to do a lot of that stuff for a while.
Yeah. All right, Donnie, give me a couple of the newer albums that the songs off the newer records, because I know you said you kind of, that's the first thing you thought of.
Yeah, Days Ahead, as mentioned in that 3-song sequence, like, was my top song of 22. It's like, it's such a beautiful song. The lyrics are like a COVID era piece, like talking about like breaking out of the, finally breaking out of that time when we were all, separated from one another. And he's got a line in that song that I'll try and say without just like choking up, because I think it's just such a beautiful line. When we emerge unconfined, I'm pretty sure you will find my love for you is total. And it's just beautiful. I think it's so amazing.
He's good,
says,
man.
My feelings aren't always vocal, but my love for you is total. It's like,
so good, dude.
Yeah,
so good.
And then coupled with in LiDAR, it's like, I love the now's the best time to be sort of healthy and alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just there's that like relief,
Yeah. I feel like that's the cranky, like, not cranky or curmudgeonly. I don't mean that at all, but like that's that like south of the Mason-Dixon line, like wit kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like
sharpest dude. Out there.
So good. So good. Man, Donnie, do you have one more that you would want to spit, or you from the new stuff? Because I'll be honest, I've listened to the new records, but not like as much as I have like Big Swing Face kind of thing.
Dude, I'm doubling down on Days Ahead. Honestly, I'm gonna pick that one,
Okay.
like that song is just like, to me, is another one of those like, everything's gonna be all right.
Yeah.
There will be days ahead, I'm pretty sure, brightening lighter rays in this world. It's like
it blasts open the universe. Like every time it's like
it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, sonically it's inspiring. Like that became sort of like the test mix for me with any new gear, is like play that song, whether it's like new headphones or I remember when that album came out, I was in the New York subway and I had saved it on my my phone so I could play it. I remember just like, the chaos of the subway, and I'm just standing and I'm listening to Days Ahead, and it hits the chorus, and it's just like, like this really confined space underground, but at the same time, it felt like, that pop into the universe was just, it was a really funny juxtaposition. It's like I'm living in like a whole other world than than my body is physically rooted in right now.
I
also
pictured
feel like with that
Jake in the
song,
middle of the subway with like those like movies where you see like a bunch of people just like going by you and you're just standing still.
Yeah,
I'm picturing. What were you saying, Donnie? Sorry.
No, I was gonna say, like, I feel like that song, I don't know many other songs that are like directly kind of like about that period of time, but it's like it's something that resonates, I feel like, with and certainly myself, like with everybody. Like we all endured like what's described in that song. So like I really feel like connected to it. And then just even beyond that, I think the message just reaches at any if I'm happy, I'm happier. If I'm sad, I'm happy, I'm sad, because then I sought that song out to make me happy.
Right.
Yeah.
And at least you're feeling something,
Yeah. And the end of it, just the anticipating days ahead. It's like the way it leaves you is just, man, I'm so thankful. So thankful for Bruce, and really hope that I get the opportunity to let him know at some point just how profound of an impact that he's made. And our first album, special thanks to Bruce Hornsby.
He's in the dedication.
He's in the I mean, he's got a mark on my soul, as I know he does the rest of the band, and just seems like he is one of the greats, but he seems like one of the most authentic people out there, and the fact that he's still delivering for people that are on the journey with him, and giving us something to look forward to. There's just no way to repay that. Is the truth.
Well said. Well, let's do the lightning round get down double feature special for you, because it's two of you guys. So you guys have both been through this before, but what we'll do is I'm going to read these questions. And why don't we do this? Donnie, why don't you answer first and then Jake right after? Because if we do it at the same time, it's going to be a
I'm nervous.
Me too.
All right, ready? This last time too.
You did fine. Both of you guys came out alive. You're here today. I didn't kill you.
There will be days ahead.
Yeah.
Well done. Zeppelin or Sabbath?
Zeppelin.
Oh, is it my? Same question.
Yeah.
Zeppelin.
Okay. Waffles or pancakes?
A Belgian waffle.
Pancakes.
Ooh, okay. Go-karts or roller coaster?
Roller coaster.
You've never even been on a loop.
Well, I know, but I want to.
Go-kart.
Go-kart? You said go-kart?
Yeah.
All right. Pigpen or Brent Midland?
Oh, Brent Midland.
Okay. Beach or mountains?
Mountains.
Beach.
Beach. Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi?
Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, Empire Strikes Back. Yeah.
Nintendo or PlayStation?
Nintendo.
PlayStation.
Swing set or slide on the playground when you're a kid? Where are you?
Swings.
Okay. Do you believe in ghosts?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Have you guys had any haunted experiences on tour where you stayed?
I don't think so.
I'm not sure.
Now you're going to this next.
Yeah, once you bring it up.
All right.
Nothing of the paranormal.
Nothing of the paranormal. And here's the last one. I'm curious for both you guys. This is not Bruce related, but like, what was your first exposure to the Grateful Dead? When's the first time you heard the Dead?
I'll let you go first, Jake, because my answer involves you. So.
Okay. I think I discovered them in 5th grade. I was like going through my dad's vinyl collection, and then I remembered like having gone through his CD collection earlier on and like recognizing like American Beauty album cover and Working Man's Dead. And I remember I had like a boombox or whatever in my room. And so I remember that was kind of the first splash into it. And, but my uncle, I mean, I just got the opportunity to play with Bill Kreutzmann in Hawaii.
I saw that.
Which was,
ridiculous.
We'll talk about it. Yeah, but my uncle, who's been to like 100 Dead shows, he went. My dad was there, and so I've always had it around me, and so I'm lucky to have found it very early on in my life.
Nice. All right, Dani, how was Jake connected to that?
When I was in the 7th or 8th grade, I got a flip phone that you could put music on. And I didn't know any music at the time, really. So I gave it to Jake. I said, can you put some songs on my phone? And one of them was,
yeah.
So that was my first exposure to the Grateful Dead. And then I think especially like, I don't think I went full bore yet. I don't think it was really until high school and when Jake and I like started our first band, and then having many late nights listening to Terrapin Station and the like, and connecting with the music.
Bringing people together, man. Yeah. That's all there is to it.
What about
you? My exposure was my older brother. So my older brother got me into everything that I'm into, minus like the grunge stuff, which is why I started playing guitar, was Pearl Jam. But my older brother used to sit in his room and listen to tapes and play FIFA. He had like a bigger TV than I had. Yeah. So he would sit on the floor in his bedroom and listen to tapes, like live tapes. And I would sometimes just go in and watch him play FIFA just so I could listen to the music. And that kind of is what got me out of like the jam or the grunge stuff and more exposed to like, oh, improvisational music exists. That's cool. I'm into that. So my brother has everything to do with that. My older brother.
That's cool. Donnie and I used to play NHL to Muse.
Yep.
I miss those days, dude, of like carefree, like playing like GoldenEye with your boys and just putting music on and chilling, man.
Yeah.
Well, fellas, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for doing this again with me. I really appreciate you. I couldn't think of a better way to kind of send off season 9. So thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Everybody, please go see Eggy on the road, eggymusic.com to find out about dates. They got cool merch on there. You can buy some stuff to support the band. Keep them on the road. Keep gas in the tank. Keep a roof over their head when they're on the road. Go see them in your city. They're an amazing band. There's no reason not to. You know you like live music, so go do the damn thing. So, fellas, anything else to promote right now? I know you got some New Year's stuff coming up.
Yeah, we got some New Year's stuff coming up. Donnie, you're the dates man.
Donnie Datesman. Let's see, it'll be December 27th in Buffalo, 28th in Harrisburg, PA.
Oh, cool.
29th, we're playing Levon Helm Studios, the barn at its old residence up there in Woodstock. Really magical place.
I bet.
That if you're a fan of the band, it's worth the pilgrimage if you've yet to be there. And then New Year's Eve in Boston, Massachusetts.
Oh, cool. Where are you playing in Boston?
We're doing the Dice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, you guys are, it's so fun to watch what you guys are doing and like from the outside. And like, I know you guys a little bit, but like, I really am so happy for you guys. It's just, since I saw you open for Mo on New Year's, I've been a fan since then. And it's just like, I feel like it's just like shit's rolling the right way, man. It's good. I'm really happy for you.
Man, well, it's a joy to be on the journey together, and it's yeah, your friendship and just your kindness has gone a really long way for us, and yeah, it's just really special to have you in our lives, and appreciate you including us in your world, and yeah, I'm excited to continue to listen to your music. I always love when you send stuff over to me, or and you always have great guests on here, and so what I'd promote is season 10.
Season 10, double digits.
There we go. Well, I'm gonna let you guys get out of here, but again, thank you so much, everybody else. This is it for season 9. Season 10 will begin at the end of January, and I want to talk to you guys when we get off air real quick about something having to do with that. But Kevin Scott, the great bass player, Kevin Scott,
Yeah.
you know that dude? He's going to be my first guest.
Oh, sick.
Will Blades after
Nice.
that. And then from there on, man, it's kind of like I'm trying to get more musicians on here. I want to talk to more musicians and get chatting about music. So,
Yeah.
but
Kevin's a monster.
hell yeah, he's a beast. And like, not to mention, have you heard of Rick Lawler?
I don't think so.
Oh, Jake, go check out. There's this band called the Big Galoot, Galoot. They had one record that came out. You would love it too, Donnie. It's imagine if the Meters put out a record like in 2019. And it was a little edgier.
All right.
That's what it's like. And then
Ben.
so Kevin played on that. He played bass on that. But Rick Lawler is a killer guitar player, originally from Florida, and then he was in Georgia. He was in Atlanta for a while, but he's in New York now.
Sick.
So check him out. But yeah, everybody, thank you so much for supporting the season this season. Fellas, hang out 1 second. Everybody else, take care of yourself. Take care of each other. See you next time.